Welcome back after the break, and we were busy looking at factors influencing food insecurity. Now, what can we do? What measures can we put in place? Now, first of all, correct farming methods. Don't over-cultivate. Don't fertilize too much. So, very importantly, if you look at farming, over-cultivation, there's your farm. Always divide your farm into different camps so that we don't experience over-cultivation. Move your cattle from the one camp to the next camp so you can give the pasture lands to grow again. Use efficient ways of storing food, especially more crops during high rainfall seasons. So that's what we need to do. When we have a decent season and productivity was high, we don't need to go and try and export all of it. We need to save it. So we need to be efficient by saving this crop in case we're going to experience a drought in the future. And improve ways of storing and using water supplies to reduce water wastage. Now this one is quite important. If we look in 2017, what happened to the Western Cape, now they experienced a major drought, probably the worst one in 100 years, and there's not enough water. They reckon that Cape Town is going to run out of water during January 2018. So not only for economic activities, but it's very important that we plan ahead by saving water and recycling water and maybe build more storage dams for water, because we're definitely going to experience more rainfall some other time and we need to save that water for future preferences. Now, our next major economic activity in South Africa is mining. Now, if you look back in history, the reason why many people settled in South Africa is because of the mining industry. First, diamonds were discovered and a city like Kimberley developed, and then obviously Johannesburg, South Africa's biggest city. The reason why we developed is because of discovery of gold. Now there's different types of mining taking place in South Africa. We've got open cast mining and we've got shaft mining. Now shaft mining is basically your gold mines. We're actually going down the shaft. Western Deep levels in South Africa is your deepest mine, I believe in the world, almost 7 kilometers deep. Your open cast mining is like coal mining and the platinum mining. Now, there's factors that promotes mining in South Africa. Now, the reason promoting it means it's doing South Africa well, exactly like the farming. We're making money, we're making profit. And what's these factors? If we look at it, South Africa is luckily, we can be quite productive in the mining sector and we can make money of it because we've got many different mining materials, raw materials. I mean, we've got gold, we've got diamonds, we've got coal, we've got platinum. So it's very important. Many other countries are not as rich in these raw materials like us. And what do we do with it? We can basically sell it to the foreign markets. And once again, the country, the GDP can grow and we can make more money. So as you can see, we can earn foreign exchange. Now, South Africa benefits a lot from it because what does it do with all these different mining activities? We basically employ people. It creates jobs. In this case, skilled and unskilled labor. Now, skilled labor is the people who went and study for instance, geology, got a degree, mechanical engineers, civil engineers that works on the mines. And then we have unskilled laborers, the people working, do the hard labor down in the mines. So it creates work for all the different types of skilled workers we have in this country. Now, this is another thing, is foreign skilled miners come to work in South Africa and the mines benefit from their knowledge and skills. Because of the mining industries in South Africa, many people from around the country, especially from developed countries, come to our country, and what they do is they pass their knowledge and their skill. So the people in our own people learn from them and gain more experience. Very important. Now, as you can see as well, the mines are a very good investment for other countries, and that can assist with development of the mines and lowering the cost. Because if you look at the mining, practice of mining is quite expensive, and if we can get money from other countries to invest in it, we can even develop more, and with more development, it means we can provide more jobs, and it can lead to better services because the government makes more money. And once again, it adds to a well-developed infrastructure. It provides roads, railway, water and electricity because it assists businesses that's indirectly involved with the mines to make more money. Now, unfortunately, we have some problems, factors that is hindering or restrict mining in Southern Africa. Unfortunately, very high temperatures. Now you need to keep in mind, especially in shaft mining, when you go down, it's extremely hot down there. It makes the conditions unbearable and very uncomfortable, and that leads to less productivity. I mean, if you're not comfortable, imagine severe warm conditions. It makes it less productive. The workers are going to be less productive because the working conditions are not really comfortable. If you look where most of the mining takes place in South Africa, most of the mining takes place in the northwest region and the Free State region, and unfortunately it's quite far from the harbour areas. Now what do we do with this material? We usually export it because we can make more money of it. But the only problem is, if you think of as raw materials, they're quite heavy, and unfortunately it's quite a distance to get the product from the mines to the harbours, and it increases the cost to transport these products. Now there's high cost involved in training and housing mine workers. Now keep in mind, if you look at mining areas, many rural areas, so there's not electricity, there's not running water. So to get the people there, to settle there, huge cost goes around. To build houses, to get them clean drinking water, to get them running water, to get them electricity. And obviously training involved, to train the people, because you need to keep in mind it's quite dangerous to work on the mines. Many accidents can happen, and you need the right training and qualifications, and it's expensive to train these people. Now, unfortunately, what comes fresh to our minds is Marikana. You can remember that with the platinum mine strikes. The strikes that took place in the mines, not only did a lot of people lose their lives that day, but besides that, it's also not profitable for a country, because it means if the people don't work, the mine can't be productive. And what happens, a lot of investors pulls out, so there's no more foreign investment. And what happens to the price? It might drop. So striking is not a good way for our mining sector. Water shortages and underground flooding, that can also create a major concern, and it's very expensive to fix it, because if you look at where most of the mines are, in rural areas and quite far where services can help them out. And then safety, like I've mentioned before, is a great concern, and it's quite dangerous to work on the mines, and it's especially costly to make sure that the mines are safe. Now, what's the importance of mining? First of all, creates jobs, like I've mentioned. For skilled people, unskilled people, it's a huge labor force. So it creates employment opportunities. That's very important, so that people can provide their families with food and improve their standard of living. Now, as you can see, we supply raw materials to secondary activities. Secondary activities is manufacturing of goods. So that's where the raw materials come from. Platinum, making things out of platinum. Instead of importing them, we can just use that product and make them. And once the product is finished, then we can ship it out, and we can even make more money. Now, as you can see, when mines start up, now keep in mind, this mine develops. They're busy extracting raw material. Now, because of the influx of workers, what's going to happen? We're going to get low order functions growing, high order functions growing, because people need daily need, for instance, milk and bread. So there's opportunity for someone to open a small shop. There's opportunity for someone to open a hairdresser. So it creates initiatives and employment for other people not directly involved with the mining sector. Mining stimulates other sectors of the economy, like I've mentioned, farming, building and trade. How does it stimulate farming? Well, obviously, the farm workers, they need fresh food. So obviously, it means the farms can produce more products to feed the people who lives in the mining towns. Now, if you look at harbours like Saldanha, for example, they basically develop because of the raw materials being shipped off to other parts of the world, and it creates more jobs and helps other sectors once again to grow in the economy. And then once again, foreign exchange, making more money in the international market. Now, unfortunately, mining is not very much environmentally friendly. It does cause a great amount of pollution and soil erosion. Now, obviously, if you look at open cast mining and shaft mining, what's the first thing that needs to do? Deforestation taking place. They remove the natural vegetation. And unfortunately, that creates soil erosion. And it's not only soil erosion, but the ecosystems are also being damaged. The natural habitat of animals are being disrupted. As you can see, the land is being destroyed, especially with the mine dumps, and chemicals that leaches into the soil and eventually to our water tables that pollutes our water. And already we discussed that South Africa do have a shortage of rainfall, so we need every single drop of water to be unpolluted. And sinkholes can be created, like I've discussed in the previous lesson, because of the digging taking place. Some surface areas might collapse. And then if you look at coal, that's one of our major mining products. Yes, we use it to produce electricity, but the problem with it is carbon dioxide. It creates a hell of a lot of pollution and increased global warming. Now, a typical question in question 4 and 3 in your exam papers is going to match column A with column B. Now, if we just quickly, let's do this together. Obtaining raw materials from the earth, what type of activity do you think that is? That's definitely primary activities. Total value of goods and services produced by the permanent citizens of a country in a year. Now, remember that's inside the borders is the GDP. It's A. Provision of services. Now you got your primary, secondary, and tertiary. That will be tertiary. Processing of the raw materials. That's secondary activities. And last but not least, the value of all goods and services produced in a country in 1 year. That's going to be C. Gross national product. Okay. So that's the type of questions that you might expect. Now, there's another activity, and this is regarding the impact that these primary activities have on us. Now, I want you to pay attention to food security over here. And as if you can look at, like for instance, overfishing, and if you look at climate change, I want to concentrate on those 3 words over there. And let's just quickly look at this question. How does the use of fossil fuels and fertilizers cause climate change? Now, very importantly, fossil fuels like burning of coal creates pollution. Now, how does it affect us? It warms the Earth's temperature. And with the warming of the Earth's temperature, it leads to global warming. And that's your answer to question 1. Now, how does climate change to rising sea levels? If you look at this, you mentioned over there. Now, obviously, increasing of warm temperatures, what happens? The ice caps melts, and when the ice caps melts, what's going to happen? The sea level is going to start rising. Let's go to the third question quickly. How would rising sea levels affect food security? Obviously, it's going to have a negative effect. So it's going to create food insecurity. Because of the rising sea levels, what's going to happen? Pasture land and fertile land is going to be covered with water. So that means we will be able to farm less products. And that's going to create food insecurity. Explain your answer in question 3. Just did that. So obviously if you look at question 3, it will have a negative effect on the food insecurity, and I've explained it because there's going to be less arable land. Name another factor in the cartoon that will affect food security, and if we go back to the cartoon, is overfishing. So there needs to be quota systems on fishing, and we need to have licenses. We can't just decide to go and catch all the fish one at a time, because the fish needs to reproduce. And obviously, they need to reproduce. That means we can be more sustainable by have food in the future, especially fish stocks. So in this lesson, we look at the primary activities. Very important primary economic activities. Why it's so important that we practice mining, that we practice farming. And we look at the benefits from it. But unfortunately, there's some problems that we do experience in them. Keep in mind the questions that you're going to experience, the questions that they might ask of it. Know your concepts, very important, because you need to be able to understand what these different concepts mean, and you'll need to be able to explain them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time around.